What up, family? It's the Bitesize Breakdown crew, and we are back continuing our Best Picture Bite-Size Breakdown series. I do not know where this is in the middle. It's not the beginning. It's not the end, but it's somewhere there. Very much like the movie we're talking about today. It's there, and it will always be there, whether it's like bombastic to you or just a day in the life or a day in a life, whatever it is. We are here to talk about Train Dreams, one of the movies we were wondering whether or not was going to make the Best Picture list, but it's here, and I'm here, and Nick here is here, but also we have some special guests from Champs on Film, and I said it in the last recording, though you may not see it till later. Former Schmodown competitors. I get to talk to a lot of former Schmodown competitors, being one myself. One, Mr. Adam Collins, and two, I feel like I'm going to be the first one on the internet to say this, so it makes me very happy. But Miss Marisol McKee Collins as well. You'll be seeing the ring very clearly as it comes up and out and everything. How are y'all doing today, Adam and Marisol? It has been a minute since I talked to you. How you feel coming on talking with us today? We're
excited. We're like, you know, this is our Groundhog's Day. We popped our head out here to see what's going on in the world. And yes, it's been a nice whirlwind. We got married. We moved like across state. We did a whole lot of stuff. We're in a lot of transitions, and we haven't stopped watching movies or staying engaged and talking with each other. So it's good to actually get out and talk to some awesome, friendly faces and talk about the movies again.
Yeah, I mean, we relocated to a place where we actually have access to movie theaters again, which is really special. And even not this one, but even been able to see a Netflix movie or two in theaters, which has been cool. So in any case, it's just been nice to have some nice new surroundings and a lot of good movies this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of good movies. And Nick, I skipped over you, but I will come back. Nick, how are you feeling today, sir?
I'm doing all right. This was a film that caught me off guard, so I am very happy to get to talk about it.
100%. And y'all brought it up, not seeing it in theaters. This is one of the few Netflix movies that they don't bring to Charlotte. Netflix seems to be the only studio who likes to give us consistent movie theater screenings. Thank you, Netflix. Please keep it up. I couldn't see it in theaters. I did see it in a slightly big TV, but just starting off with like one of the best things about this movie is just how the fuck it looks. Oh my gosh. If you can just sit there and not listen to Will Patton just talk over for an hour and a half and look at all the things that Greg Cuidar and Clint Bentley did. Clint Bentley specifically, Greg Cuidar wrote it. I would be in heaven. Tell me what y'all thought about just the how this film looked, how it went along with kind of just sitting in the life of Joel Edgerton for about 2 hours.
I gotta say, I like hanging out with Joel Edgerton, generally speaking, for myself. So I found this movie from the outset to be quite inviting, especially with Will Patton, my personal grandfather. I just love listening to that man talk. I've literally sought out audiobooks read by him. So great narration choice. As the movie goes on, I have more mixed feelings about the use of narration, but I think the choice of narrator is great because I love Will Patton and I love his voice. But yeah, the cinematography is striking from the get-go. And I had to look up the cinematographer. I think is it Alfonso something? I don't have the name off the top of my head, but he, he's done some other movies before this, but it seemed like it was in very capable hands, visually speaking, right?
Yes, Alfonso Veloso.
Okay, an emerging talent, I think, comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, this, you've already kind of summarized some of my feelings about this. I mean, it's easy you can just sit back. There are some films that there are some movies that you have to be engaged, paying attention to every detail in the frame, and you actively have to keep up with it, or else you're going to lose yourself. And that there's all different kinds of levels with movies and fantastic movies. And critically acclaimed movies. What I appreciate about Train Dreams, it kind of reminded me almost how I felt when I came out of Minari a few years back, where it's just like it's soothing. There's something about it as a whole, it was just soothing and was able to just kind of wash over me. And the look of it, how it was shot, just those tall, like a lot of the negative space. It reminded me of like a good version of like what Tom Hooper would do in all his movies, where like it's a meaningful way to use all this negative space above people to match thematically. I think the cinematography was used really well in this movie to match thematically kind of the vastness of nature and how we're just this small part of it. A lot of shots were like that, and that I think that was used very effectively in Train Dreams. We'll get to this. I am in the same boat as Adam. I'll just out the gate a little more mixed on the movie, but it wasn't, for lack of, I'll say this, it's everything about making it feel like it washed down really easily. That's what I'm going to say about it, for all the reasons that I just said.
Technically very striking in every way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very soothing movie, and we'll get to some of my criticisms in a little bit, but yeah, I don't have a lot to be mad about with this.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I'm the only one here who had a chance to see this in theaters.
Nice.
It is quite visually impressive. I equated it when I saw it to walking through a museum, an art gallery, and you're immersed in everything that's going on around you. And I think that's what's really special about this film. I think your comparison with Minari was really great in that it felt like it transported me to a different time, and I was just kind of along for the ride. But I felt like being there. I felt being through everything he was going through. And films can be immersive sometimes, but not typically in that way that you feel like you're transported somewhere without it being this big bombastic action adventure space film or something. It was just kind of like I felt like I was taken back in time, and like growing up in the time, like working in the forest and working in lodging and stuff, like logging and stuff like that. And I think for a film where not a ton of stuff happens, I think the biggest compliment I can give this film is that I was never bored. I was never taken out of it, even though it's just kind of a true to life story. It never was something I was disengaged with.
Yeah, for me, it gave me a reason to add another group of movie makers to I must watch them. After Sing Sing and this back to back with Clint Bentley and Greg Quetta, anything they put out, I'm going to go see, because I usually am not the hugest fans of these kind of movies. You need to give me something to hold on to. You need, and just sitting and watching somebody do stuff, I really, really have to connect to it. And I think the way the direction goes, the co-wrote screenplay between the two of them really just got me connected right away. And I'm going to be honest, one of the things I've heard the most criticism about is that voiceover. Like, people don't like how the voiceover goes. I love the voiceover. It kept me engaged throughout the entire movie. And a lot of people are like, well, it's a lot better if you don't need to say what Joel Edgerton's character is going through. Let him see it. I loved hearing it because I love Will Patton's voice. And I love that breaking that up with him coming in was another reason between that, his performance, the visuals, and the supporting cast coming in every once in a while and giving another breath of life. That is what got me. And I was very surprised at how much I was into this movie and how emotional I got towards the end of it. I just thought it was overall beautiful. What did y'all think overall of the film, just taking everything in consideration? And you slightly touched on it, but like about that voiceover, how do you feel? Did it work? Did it not? And if it didn't, why not?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you should watch. You may not like, if you don't like movies, just watching somebody do stuff. You should not watch Perfect Days. I
love Perfect Days. Holy shit, I loved it. Yes, I love Perfect Days. See, it depends on the people. It depends on the person and who I'm following.
I think this movie is similar to that in that sense of you saying about it's about those movies where I don't subscribe to people just saying like, oh, well, this is boring. Like, if you're saying something's boring because like action isn't happening in that sense, then you're selling the movie short. It's obviously, like you said, Nick, it's immersive. It's acting you to engage with the mundane, or engage, like, just ask something deeper, engage deeper with the film beyond the surface. And Train Dreams is a movie like that. That it's been compared, I think Malikian has become its own adjective at this point, and to describe it. And of course, sure, I think this movie is in that vein of asking you to just, like you said, just be in this moment with this character and go on this journey and extract what you can from this. Bring your own life experience to this to help to be alongside this person reflecting in theirs. And it's just going to come down to I guess personal taste of it. For me, I vibe with when I can truly just sit with that person, when it's just me and that person, and the narration creates a third party there for me. For me, my experience with watching this, not because it was weak. Yeah, we're all singing the praises of it. Like we love Will Patton, and it brings this lyricism to the film, absolutely. But there's other movies with narration that it just blends right into the film for me. But this particular experience that I was having with Joel Edgerton, part of that intimacy of that experience, I did feel Will Patton making his way in the room with us when I was having a moment with Joel. Like, we were vibing, we were having a moment. Oh shoot, I'm about. You pop in. Oh yeah. Hey.
But yeah,
hey.
I know I shared some of the consternation, if you will, with Will's sudden arrival in certain scenes, especially the more intimate ones. But no, I think he does a terrific job if you're going to include narration. I think the movie does a good job on its own of establishing space, characters, time, not overstating things that may or may not be happening for real. I appreciate all of that about it. So I find at times I found the return of the narration to be in contrast with the way the film trusted its visual storytelling. So that's I found a little bit of dissonance with that, but I still like the movie overall, and I could tell what there was a spirit of mythologizing this on a folklore type level. Without it being a literal tall tale. They let the landscape do the talking in terms of the way they frame things with the trees and the height and the headspace, like you say. But I think what the movie does well is let us linger in these spaces, not only with Robert, Joel's character, but like Arn, which I'm sure we'll get to in more detail in a little bit. But I think the more I heard Will Patton, the more I wanted him to be a character on screen. I'm like, where is this guy? Like, come on and hang out with us, Will. Like, come out from behind one of those trees and join the story.
It was very testament of Ann Lee in the fact that, like, that movie is all Thomasin McKenzie narrating the film, and like you just said, like, it's like the sense of folklore. Her narrating it makes it seem like this is the stuff of legend, and it's just this Mark Twain-esque, just this adventure of this guy in the Pacific Northwest. It adds, like you're saying, it does, to say something positive about that. I feel like we're saying negative stuff about the narrative. It adds that heighten and that sense that this is, or even like, it reminds me a little bit about Big Fish in the sense that you're turning the ordinary into the extraordinary just by keying in and just paying attention to it. Like, you find this is the most ordinary dude that existed back then. And just that in itself, all those tiny little miracles of his day-to-day life make his story extraordinary.
And that's what I think the movie does so well, is making it feel relatable, like you're there, like Nick was saying.
Yeah, there's nothing particularly special about Robert. There's nothing that special about his story. He just he's a guy living his life. He is, when you're not playing a mission in Red Dead Redemption and you're just going around and checking out the shops, get some flowers. Like, there's a reason that they put that kind of stuff in those games, because some people just want to live a day in the life, and that's what you get here. And obviously we're going to get into the fact that there's a lot of tragedy that befalls him, but it never feels like it's anything that's done just to give the film like a boost, like we said, like to not make it boring. It all feels very authentic to the story, which I think is pretty important. And they don't let you forget things that in some films I find would be throwaway moments, like the gentleman getting thrown off the bridge and how that kind of haunts him throughout the film. I like that that wasn't just like a passing moment that was like, that happened, but that was the times. It doesn't. It sticks with them. It haunts them. And I think that was another really good choice that they made in the film.
Yeah, you brought up Red Dead Redemption. I am old school Sega Dreamcast dude. So the very first open world game I can ever remember was this game called Shenmue, or Shenmue 2. If anybody played that out there, please let me know, because that's an epic, massively epic before its time game, just like the Dreamcast was before its time. I haven't played Sony anything since it, because Sony killed the Dreamcast, and I'm still bitter about it. But speaking of all that, between that happening with the Chinese worker getting thrown off, between the very random black dude coming in and shooting the guy in front of everybody to the biplane.
You mean Django?
Yes, basically Django coming back for revenge. Everything, all those little moments didn't feel like throwaway moments. And for me, the reason that in the movie worked is Joel Edgerton, is his characterization of Robert on top of the rest of the cast. But he was probably the one, like I've said like 50 times in this series of videos this year, best actor was the best actor I've seen in a long time. And while like Lee Byung-hun and Jesse Plemons were some of the actors, I was like, man, Joel Edgerton was my one between him and Ethan Hawke. I was like, I don't know who's going to get that last one, but whoever doesn't, I'm going to be very sad. He is so fucking good at this. Like, I think his ability compared with the writing decisions to have these things and tragedies happen to him, but not make them a sign of the times and not make them just, they happen. They really affect him. And you see it as much in in his looks and how he carries himself. Cause he doesn't talk much in this film either. And how do y'all feel about whether or not he didn't get the Oscar nomination, about his role in the film, how he carries the film, and just his performance in general?
Well, I think Joel's going to keep at it, and I would have appreciated a little recognition for him, if only because he also did The Plague this year, and I really like that movie. But no, I think he delivered a very good performance, and I think like Leo's performance in The Revenant, these nonverbal performances really stick out, especially when you're such an established actor like Joel. I wouldn't quite go so far as to say he was snubbed. It's a pretty crowded field, but I also think that even if Train Dreams isn't like in my top 5 of the year, I understand why he's in contention, why people would discuss it. He gives a very soulful performance with, as you point out, Amarú, limited dialogue. And especially as the film goes on and we're lingering more and more in his space and his mindset, I think he's doing so much with just his face.
I know. And unfortunately, I think it comes down to when you're talking about somebody missing out for the Oscar nomination, we're praising these ways, all the subtle distinctions. Not that the Academy's basic, it doesn't recognize that. But when you have flashier performances, like when you have performances that have moments that pop, I think those end up being the tiebreakers for some of those things. It takes, not to say that those performances don't pop through, and incredibly gentle and understated performances don't succeed at the Oscars in years. But with Oscar stuff, we talk. Well, we're going to talk about it, and we do talk about it. We'll talk about it in our Oscar video when we do it. We like put them under a microscope, and then at the same time, I'm like, but you know, it can be such a toss. It's all about the campaigning and how a particular movie got put in. So, and that has nothing to do with the merit and the caliber of the performance. You know, it's just it's a fine line. It's a tough game to play. But discussing and acknowledging the work is the stuff that endures. So yeah, I for Joel, I only feel bad because I think that I think this would have been his chance at his career. I mean, you never know, never say never. But to think that, especially when you think about, it's tough to get in there when you think about Leo DiCaprio on like his eighth, ninth, you know, like Oscar. There's people who are just gonna always be up there, and I think Joel really had to pop, really, really explode through to break through that kind of that top ceiling there. I think he's an actor who's always been fantastic. He's always been there. He is always, just because the sadness and soulfulness of his eyes, he's always an actor that I key into a little bit more because he just naturally feels more expressive in his films. Back in Warrior, back in all those days, Joel's always been there. The man's always been there. I don't even like Great Gatsby that much, but I remember Joel Edgerton in Great Gatsby. He just is usually just like a thoughtful standout, a sensitive standout in his films.
I thought you were going to say how moved you were by him in Attack of the Clones.
Oh, yes.
God.
Look, and
he's good in Attack of the Clones too.
Exodus ain't a good movie. God and Kings that's a messy movie. But I remember
He sure is bald.
Yeah, I remember that eyeliner. But yeah, but yes. So I digress. I'm getting sidetracked. But yeah, I do feel for him only because this might have been, as far as the way his career goes, this might have been his best chance to pop in there on a Best Actor nomination list.
It's funny because it's hard to figure out where you would put him in.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if he won Best Actor for this performance, not even like putting him in the nomination, like if he won it, I don't know how anyone could have issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think in terms of the craft of acting, the top two performances this year are Joel Edgerton, and I haven't seen Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon yet. That's the one I've missed. But Joel Edgerton and Wagner Moura in The Secret Agent, in terms of the craft of it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Leo has a showier performance. Timothy has a showier performance. But I always go back to, I think it's Timothy's best performance of his career. Do I think Timothy could do Train Dreams? No.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of actors that would struggle to do what Joel did in this film because they are just working with limited facial expressions and things like that. Like, obviously, we'll say Leo could do it because we've seen similar in The Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that he deserves his flowers for doing something that is really difficult to do and keep it as engaging as the film is.
Yeah, you threw me off a little bit. His sad eyes. I was like, damn, like just telling somebody they look sad at all times, like a puppy dog or something. I mean, yeah, he kind of does.
Yeah.
He does. Even in Attack of the Clones, he's always got that mad look, and move that over to Obi-Wan the show. He still was pissed and sad the entirety of the time.
He's always still working on a doohickey and got towel.
Something. It's like Brad Pitt always eating something. He's always got and
he always looks like you've just hurt his feelings, but he understands it.
Yes, he's
like, yeah.
Oh, and it's the fact that he's the one that like a lot of people come away with, but then you get the very limited but very impactful supporting performances. Felicity Jones, Carrie Condon, and damn William H. Macy. I don't remember the quote word for word. I never do. But like the line that stuck with me was, isn't it beautiful? What, Arn? All of it. All of it. When they're sitting there, like talk about their performances in those little just times that they just take over the screen, but Joel Edgerton is still in the back looking sad and you still paying attention to him? Like, how did y'all feel about them and their interactions? They were like, they came in and gave for me, when I would feel like I might lose some interest, like y'all need to, like, I never felt like I was like, y'all need to, but before I even got to that point, they would come in and something would happen and they would bring more life. And I also want to add, what's the dude from Jurassic Park 3? Because he was also really great. He was one of the lumberjacks. His last name is Deal. My gosh. I just had his name. John Deal. John Deal as Billy, the other older lumberjack that he sees down the line who knew Arn. All of them were great. Talk about them and like their contributions and everything.
Yeah. So I was, I knew William H. Macy was in this, so I was sitting around, I'll admit, kind of like, where is he? Like, when's he gonna pop up? And honestly, I appreciate the way this was constructed because, you have these people passing through Robert's story. And the gentleman seeking vigilante justice is one such example. But I loved Arn. I think everybody does. Could use more of him, but at the same time, I appreciate the brevity of his impact. I think he's one of the best examples too of how this movie seizes upon. We read about this period of history a lot, or see it in a museum, and you'll read a placard and you'll get some basic sense of, oh, loggers had a hard life, eh? And to really be put into it and to see some of the incidental yet catastrophic loss of life was some of the more harrowing stuff in this movie for me. Not just with Arn, but lots of other characters as well. But I think personalizing it with him, having him be that mentor type character, and also he has a mythical wizard-like quality. The way he just kind of appears and just as quickly fades away. But I love his performance. And again, like I almost feel in retrospect like he and Will Patton both auditioned for that role and Macy got it. They're like, we just need Patton in here too. Come on, let's go. We'll find something. But I really liked Arn.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, you said it, Amarú. The movie popped. I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't even watch the trailer for it before we saw it. So I didn't know William H. Macy was in it. It was a nice surprise. And I sat right up when Carrie Condon came in the movie. I was like, oh, there she is. Here we go. Carrie Condon always, I after Banshees of Inisherin, she excites me every time I see her pop up. I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be worth it.
So I'm glad she did this after that pool thing. That pool movie. It doesn't matter. That pool horror movie.
We should put the plague and the pool. What is it? Night pool. What was it called? Night swim. Night swim. I'm sorry, not night pool.
I didn't know what pool movie he was talking about. I knew y'all were gonna get there, but I know I didn't see it.
I forgot she was in that.
Yeah. That was her
she
first post Oscar.
Her and Wyatt Russell are in it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's such a good cast. Anyway. Carrie Condon.
Carrie Condon. Yeah, I was before that. It's okay. It's okay.
But I think I like the way she comes in though too, because it's a very good bookend with Felicity Jones's character, because he's so like isolated at that point, and we don't see many characters coax him out of that shell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not, maybe it's because I just rewatched Oh Brother Where Art Thou pretty recently, but there's this, again, tying back to this everyman's odyssey, it's this, you have almost like these archetypes, like the lost love, like his love who's now gone to the underworld or wherever, but she's still the spirit that kind of haunts him throughout the whole time. And then he meets all these characters that are almost like Odyssey, like these different points where he's meeting them and the different things that the different life lessons and values that they bring to him. It adds, it's very.
I think I think you just kind of clicked why I like this movie so much. I love Greek mythology, and I never made that comparison of all the just characters coming in like the Odyssey and meeting them. So even with the tragedy of the fire happening and not knowing what's happening, whether Felicity Jones and the daughter made it or not, to Kerry Condon coming in and bringing that spark to him, but then he's isolated again to the biplane at the end. Just all these little things happening. Thank you. That clicked it for me, because I still don't understand why I love this movie, but that might be a very, very big reason for it, for sure.
Well, it's propulsive like the Odyssey, and like Oh Brother, the backdrop gives it that storytelling impact, the feeling of the timelessness.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about it is, like you talked about, not knowing what happens to the wife and daughter. Like, we get so stuck about living in this time where, like, a child goes missing. Oh, there's an Amber Alert. Like, oh, there are all these things we can do. And the idea that you could just lose everything in that time, in an instant. And if you're not there, like, you don't know about it. You can't do anything about it. And it's not like you have a prearranged meeting place. Like, she could have had to be displaced and go live her own life miles and miles and miles away and never know that the two even end up existing. And I like that there's that kind of, you don't get an answer as to what happens with the wife and daughter, except for you get that moment, but it doesn't, where he fixes her leg, but you don't fully know if that's real or not. And you don't know if that's his daughter or not. And you get to watch him go on this odyssey. And I think the other thing we were talking about Arn is he kind of becomes Arn. He goes on his story, and then he becomes the guy who everyone looks as the old man that just can't quite work as fast as the young guys. And I think it's, Adam, you were saying, I wish we got more Arn. We do. He just becomes, Robert just becomes Arn. And I think that character gets to be everlasting throughout that story because of it.
For sure. This movie just amazed me when I saw it. And I also just think movies that tell you to appreciate life and whatever that life is, whether it is big or slow or really insulated or with a lot of people, just take care of what you have and find the wonder in it and all the visuals. Like, I am very glad I've never seen a Terrence Malick movie, because a lot of people are like, well, this is just Terrence Malick like or imitation. I'm like, I have no comparison. I have no idea. So I don't care. I'm enjoying the shit out of this. So I'm very happy I got to see this. Nick, as we wrap it up, final thoughts on the film, anything that we haven't brought up that you want to talk about, just how you felt about this movie. And it's not going to win Best Picture unless something really ridiculous happens, but just final thoughts on the film in general.
I really like it. I'm not here to start like a rant against Netflix and all this kind of stuff, but I really wish people got to see this in a theater. And I think it's unfortunately not a film that a lot of people are going to gravitate to on a streaming service because it is so immersive. But being able to experience this on a large screen, even just visually, it was one of the most lasting theatrical releases that I got to see last year. And if you haven't seen Train Dreams, I highly recommend checking it out.
For sure. Adam, Marisol, final thoughts on the film? Anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I mean, I honestly, I echo, the sentiments of wishing I'd been able to see it in the theater, only because I can tell it would benefit from, that also that shared experience. It's not a movie that would elicit a ton of reaction necessarily from the audience, but it's just something I would have appreciated, being in a room with other audience members for sure. I think in the age of streaming movies, even when they're good, like Train Dreams, some of that impact is lost. And that's why I was so glad we were able to chase down Frankenstein in a theater. But it took some work, and it's like, it shouldn't be so hard, you got nothing to lose by putting these things in theaters. Not everything has to be K-pop. Okay. Like, you could put everything in there. You're not going to lose any money.
Everything should be K-pop. I think that's what you mean.
My daughter definitely
I fixed
feels
that for
way.
you there.
Yeah, my daughter
no,
definitely feels that way.
I got you.
If it doesn't win best director somehow, that movie, she'll be disappointed. But no, Train Dreams overall, I think what's cool is this movie has such a dedicated fan base, if you will. They're not making T-shirts necessarily, but they're outspoken. They like this movie a lot, and for it to get the recognition as a Best Picture nominee, I think that's nice. I'm happy for it.
Mm-hmm. And what you were saying about there's nothing to criticize. If you think something emulates Terrence Malick, then that should make somebody want to just reach out to Terrence Malick. That's an excellent person to emulate, and that's not a slight, and that's beautiful. That means that somebody is trying to embrace and pass on. We want people to continue to emulate an auteur like Terrence Malick. We want that connection, that poetic, cinematic connection to nature and understanding, and letting a lot of nonverbal moments breathe. We want that kind of art to continue. So that's not. Look, don't get me. You're gonna set me off on a rant, but yeah, those are.
If Terrence Malick was trying to give you a hug.
There's a lot of work out there that is derivative in weird ways. This is not that. This is not that. This is a movie made with a lot of love and a lot of craft. All these things that we are talking about that are strengths. I can admit, for me, it washed over me very softly, but also left a little mild. Ooh, that was nice. and then I can't say that this movie moved me deeply emotionally, but I appreciate so much about it. I appreciate the craftsmanship behind it. Everything that you guys are talking about, I'm not going to disagree with none of that. I'm not like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see that movie. I saw that movie that you guys are talking about, and I appreciate it. And I think there are a lot of strengths to this movie. It comes down to personal taste. For me, didn't profoundly move me, but I really appreciate the character's journey in this, and the strengths on the beauty in the ordinary. I think the movie does a great job of illustrating that. I hope more people see it, and who knows, like maybe this will be the kind of thing that brings it around. Maybe it'll be kind of one of those things where like we saw with K-pop, where when this creates this fervor and this fandom for it, things will come back around in theaters. The movie theaters are discovering a lot. You know what? When I go to the movies, we've been going to the movies regularly, and what actually has more butts in the seats when we go to things are reruns of movies and re-releases of things. Mm-hmm. I think movie theaters are figuring something out here. And so Train Dreams could be one of those, because you're right. It would be fantastic to experience that in theaters and hear the bugs and the snapping of the twigs and the birds, the sound of the forest around you being in theaters. That would have been an asset of the film. So I know, so we'll see. But I wish the best. I'm happy it got some love. A little movie like this could easily get tucked away.
And just to go off of what she was saying, she nailed something I failed to mention, which I think is important. As much as I like this movie and as much as I appreciated it, and as harrowing as it is, I struggled to fully emotionally connect to it as well. And that's not because I think the movie's bad, or I think like it did something wrong with the storytelling. Maybe it was by design. I also think it's obviously subjective, but as much as I cared about Robert, I get very emotional when I watch movies all the time. This one, I kept it together, and that's not saying that was bad, but I'm just pointing that out. For me, sometimes that can be the difference of really connecting to a movie, and I'm just admitting that.
I think you have a point there, Adam. Like I really enjoyed this movie, but I wasn't overly moved by it, and I do think that is a little bit by design.
Yeah.
And it is more so like, this is the time. Is some guy just going to come that no one knows out of nowhere, shoot a guy because he wronged him? Sure. Is some guy going to get thrown off a bridge? Is there going to be racial tension that's just kind of commonplace? Like all this stuff that it's just kind of like, this is what we dealt with at this time. And it doesn't hit you emotionally in that way because it doesn't really hit the characters emotionally in that way, except for Robert. And he's almost like the odd man out because this stuff is affecting him emotionally. And I think it's good that the audience doesn't go on Robert's journey and they get to go on the journey of the whole film instead.
Well, maybe I'm just hella sensitive because I definitely had some tears on my couch watching this on my television, for sure.
We're all heartless.
I definitely see why people would, and I definitely see why people would. But Adam, Marisol, I appreciate you all so much. It was great to see you. It's been way too long. Please let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on in your life.
We're about to brush the good old dust off of Champs on Film for our annual Oscar video. We obviously had a busy year, but we promise. I feel like I hear myself say this. We promise we're about to get back onto our channel, but we really are this time. So just check us out on Champs on Film. We're on YouTube. We have an old dusty Instagram somewhere too. So
Letterbox though, that's a good place
Letterbox, yeah, individually. Marisol_Mariah and Eisenthor. You can find us on Letterbox, and that is where we'll keep up most. And you can get more into our thoughts. I'm waiting for us to do a YouTube video. You can get more into our regular thoughts on there. So yeah, that's where we
appreciate you. We will have all of your information down on the description below. As always, you can find me and Nick on a bunch of Bigger Bite episodes. Hoppers just came out not too long ago. The Hamnet was the first episode for this series. Sinners, I believe, is out by now, so go check all that out. And also, of course, go check out bitesizebreakdown.com. If our awards are not out yet, they will be very, very soon, depending on the release date. The most important awards of 2025, of course. We just decided that we want to cover the Oscars anyway, but go check that out on bitesizebreakdown.com. But for myself, for Nick, for Adam, and for one, Marisol McKee Collins, we're out of here.
Yeah, don't forget.